Hello everybody, welcome to another Making Monday Lovable video. And it feels a little bit weird to make this video because I haven't actually done a video since several weeks, because when I did my, the series about what's important for scientific illustrators, I had such a good run that I did them all in one day. And now like 7 or 8 weeks passed and I see that I look quite different because it was very sunny here, so I spent a lot of time in the sun, so I got a bit of a tan, which is, in case you're wondering, like what happened to her. So today's video is a little bit of, kind of a bonus to the series, but not quite. I think it can be applicable to anything. And I will, of course, it came from a situation with clients, and I am a scientific illustrator, so it's kind of connected. But the title of this video today, I wanted to call it saying I don't know, it's more than a strength. And what I mean with this is not the I don't know that one says to avoid an answer and not really want to think about it, like just a random whatever. I don't care, so I don't know. I'm getting out of situations. I mean that I don't know, that really means that I don't know. And I personally think it's a really, really big strength to admit when I don't know something. It has been connected to a lot of discomfort for me before, during my PhD, and studying. And then it was basically, if you don't know something, like a fact, then you will have a worse grade, or you might not, qualify with the protocols you've written, or you might get embarrassed because somebody asks you something about your own research project, about your own PhD, your papers, and you don't know the answer. And then if it's somebody that's a professor, higher ranked and with much more knowledge, it could be actually embarrassing. While I personally do not mind so much not knowing certain things, because I think it is more that I don't know that I actually know. I wasn't always completely, it was not such a big shame that I had, because I also like to think about potential answers, even if I don't know. So one strategy is like to admit, like, I am not quite sure about this, but I could think this and that could be the case, or knowing, like, from that situation I can imply something, like a possibility of what a potential answer could be. Never bullshitting. I don't think it's a good thing, but there's ways to be able to deal with moments where you don't know something. And why this came up, and why I think it is more than a strength, especially when being a scientific illustrator. So I've done my PhD in the plant sciences, and I've illustrated for plenty of clients over the almost 5 years now, 4.5 plus. And I have many times, most of the times, I illustrate things that I have no idea about. I know plant science, I know certain things better than others. But most of the times people come to me, they are total experts in the field, and I'm not. So most of the times I don't know what they are doing. I have no idea about it, zero. I know the basics, but the specifics I don't. And so regularly I am in contact with not knowing something, and people telling me, like shoveling the knowledge in my face, basically, and me trying to understand it and asking questions, and then put my creativity, my thoughts, my knowledge as well that I have as a scientist and an artist onto it, and make something nice looking and correct as well. And I have had several times now that I discussed with clients, and because I don't know, I ask questions, because there's no point for me to pretending, fake knowing something if I don't. So I'm asking very specific questions. And many times it occurred to me that my clients have never thought about this question. It didn't even come to their mind. Like, why would they even ask this? Because they are so much in their thing, in their science, just like I was during my PhD, and seeing it from this subjective perspective only, it's very difficult to look at it from the outside, even though that's what science claims to be, right? Objective, never subjective, which I don't agree with actually. So they would then sit there and wouldn't know the answer, and they would be the experts. And they would also say like, well, actually, I haven't thought about this. And then during the discussions, like, you know, maybe we should actually work on the figure first, and then I finish up the writing. Because thinking from that perspective of how to visualize it, how to show it, how to explain it in a visual way is a very different approach to when just writing down the text. So it has to be thought about very differently, and different perspectives and different points come out. And with me being there, not knowing actually what it is that they do, they can assume that a lot of other scientists don't know either. So having this perspective of a newbie, a fresh mind, basically coupled with an expert, brings a very different dynamic and a very different outcome. And the last client that I worked with, one of the last clients I worked with, we're discussing a lot, you know, what they were doing, the types of analysis, the types of data, and that was a bit more of an abstract approach for me, because it was a lot of mathematical modeling. So I would ask really, okay, what does this tell me? Why have you done that? Based on which data, and what was the conclusion from it? And then looking at like very, you know, abstract mathematical graphs and outputs and data and results. So it's really asking basics: what, why, how, and outcome. And through these discussions, one of the authors said, I think we have to rewrite the manuscript, we have to restructure it. I really like that way, you know, of how we actually designed and layouted the figure. They then decided to restructure the whole manuscript a bit to make it more clear for people to read. So actually admitting that you don't know something, and you know, they would be very open to me, like, oh, but you know, you tell us what you think is best, and like, oh, sorry that we didn't know, and they would explain, you know, try to explain themselves, and I told them, not, but you know, it's like two experts coming together with different skills. So I will also ask questions to you that maybe are stupid, but for me to understand and to make really sure that I illustrate properly what you've done, and I will ask everything that I kind of need. And it's a really good interaction between knowing, not knowing, and bouncing back and actually building up knowledge from this. You know, like in the end, it's like a big thing, an illustration that shows all kinds of everything that my client wants to see, to show, and anybody else wants to see. So yeah, it's actually a strength to not know as a scientific illustrator, and be very open about it, because there's things you know, there's things you can do, and people come to you because they need help with something that they don't know anything about. So I actually love this, and I felt that it's very, you know, it's a very important thing to mention, because I sometimes have the feeling that there's a lot of like pretending to know everything in the world, which is actually not the case. And sometimes it's better to also just not say anything instead of saying something wrong. But in this case, it's actually a huge strength to use this as well, very consciously, and not feel bad about it, because it's a huge strength when you're a scientific illustrator and this part of you that don't know the specifics of a scientific thing that a client comes with to you. So that's it for today. I hope that was of value, and I wish you a nice Monday and a great week ahead, and talk to you next week. Bye bye.